All right, welcome
There
back
we
to
go.
Yard by Yard, episode 19. Joined with my cousin Pete Dazzio today. Pete, how are we doing?
Good, good. Good.
All right.
Glad to be on.
Yeah. All right. So, took a bit 2 weeks off. Um, I told everybody I was gonna do a little bit off while I got caught up on some other sports. This is our kind of basketball catch up for college basketball. It's basically, football season's ended. You need another sport to get into, dive into it. We're going to cover everything here for you. We over the top teams, best players, who can make a title run, sleeper teams, and all that. So we'll have a good list here for everybody. Um, might be a longer episode, but yeah, let's roll. So let's start off by just going the top 15 teams, and then we'll go through these teams, or top 25. I'm just going to rank the top 25 as it stands right now. There's a bunch of games going on right now that might change things up and this weekend. But number one, we've got Auburn 25 and 2, Duke 24 and 3. I won't read the records for all these. Florida 24 and 3. Then you got Houston at 4, Tennessee at 5, Bama 6, St. John's 7, Michigan State 8, Iowa State 9, Texas Tech 10, Wisconsin 11, 12 Texas A&M, 13 Clemson, 14 Missouri, Michigan 15, Maryland 16, 17 Kentucky, 18 Memphis, 19 Louisville, 20 Purdue, 21 Marquette, 22 Arizona, 23 St. Mary's, 24 Mississippi State, and 25 BYU. So that is our top 25. If you're wondering where the one team is from last year, UConn has been the main underperformer this year. So they are not in the top 25 at all. Um, and I'd say that's probably the biggest shock for this season. I don't know if you'd agree as well, Pete.
I'm actually a little bit more shocked that Kansas is
Yeah.
dropped out of the top 25. They were preseason number one overall. A lot of people had Bama, but a lot of people had Kansas as preseason number one overall. And
Yeah.
they're they're such a fascinating team to me because they're the first example of like, what if we get a bunch of guys out of the portal and then they all hate each other?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the first team we've seen of. That's the first time we've seen something like this happen. So that team fascinates me.
Yeah, and you got the Hunter Dickinson effect too, where he's basically, I think
Yep.
he's like 25 or 26 at this point, and
Yeah.
teams just know how to go against them now. They'll just go at him. He plays no defense. So, yeah, those are
Yep.
the two. Those are the two surprising teams. I'll say. I will say, let's go into who he thinks the teams. I got a list of. I have 9 teams that I think can win it. 3 of these teams are just strictly. I think they're the best teams in the country. They're powerhouses. One Auburn, two Duke, three Florida. I think those are powerhouses. But as we're saying this, Florida is now losing to Georgia on the road, which knows what that is. But then, so those are my powerhouse teams. Those are mine. I'll take those 3 teams against the field, against anybody else, because I think those are just the top tier level in all of college basketball this year. After that, I have Bama, St. John's. St. John's does not shoot very well, but they're a Rick Pitino very well coached team who just plays hard nosed defense. Houston, who's always been in the mix and always can play good defense, can now shoot a little bit better, so that helps them. I had Texas Tech. I don't know if I have Texas Tech still in there. They had a tough loss to Houston last night. It was at home. Wisconsin is a team in the Big Ten that is making a run. And although they did just lose a game against Oregon on Saturday when they were up 16, I feel like it's a good loss for them to kind of get them back on track for the end of the season. And then 9, I said Missouri just because Missouri can shoot so well. I think any team that can get hot and shoot so well can make a run. So those are the teams who I think can win it. But if I was going to take anyone, it'd be those first 3 teams I said.
Hey, you're not slick. I hear that John Fanta pull from Pardon My Take saying it was a good
Yeah,
loss for
it
Wisconsin.
it is. He was right. He was right.
Yeah, I kind of think he was right too. I like Wisconsin a lot. I would put them on this team that can actually win the tournament. John Tanji, I feel like he's like the maybe the most one of the most electrifying players in college basketball right now, and he's not getting talked about that much
Yeah.
because these guys like Janai Broom and Cooper Flag, obviously, and Milos Uzan and LJ Cryer, and I feel like not that many people are talking about John Tanji, but he's awesome and he could take them deep. I'll put Michigan State on that list. They're kind of like St. John's in the way that they don't shoot the ball very well, but it's Tom Izzo. Um, them and St. John. St. John's, they shot like 45% or something like
Yeah.
that from
Yeah.
three against UConn the other night. If they can do that, they can win it all.
Yeah, Tanji, you're talking about Tanji. Tanji's averaging right now 19.7 points a game and 1.8 assists per game. So he's
Yep.
really just doing just fuck it, I'm gonna score every single time, which is hilarious. But no, I totally agree with Wisconsin there. They've been killing. And yeah, St. John's too. St. John's been great. A team that has been getting some wins. Um, under their belt and shooting up the rankings is Michigan State. Michigan State's won six in a row and they're 22-5. Their last big win was Friday night to Michigan. That was a game where Michigan looked like they had it and like at the beginning and they just let it go. And it's Tom Izzo. Like Tom Izzo will have these years where he's not even as good or he doesn't have as good of a projected team as he's supposed to be, but he can make a Final Four run because he knows how to do it. And Michigan, on the other hand, they've lost three, so that's not good for them. But I think both of those teams are the same type of echelon teams. I mean, they said it on Pardon My Take. You heard Fanta and Big Cat saying on Pardon My Take, those teams both can make Final Four runs because of the way their teams are. Um, I I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, Dusty May has been to a Final Four as well. He knows how to get teams to win. So that just totally wouldn't surprise me one bit if either of those teams did anything. And then I think the team I think you might agree with me here. Um, I just realized I've been saying I said they lost six straight. I said they won six straight and they lost three straight. That was where they changed in the that was where they changed in the rankings. Oh shit. All right. Whoops. That was on me.
It's all good.
Um,
Hey, it's all good.
I'll
It
say it's
happens.
I'll say this team that was getting a ton of headlines for maybe making a run and now is spiraling is Texas A&M. Texas A&M
Yeah,
the two
I
bad
wouldn't go so
losses.
far as to call it. I would not go so far as to call it a spiral. Um, we're going to talk about this later, maybe, but the SEC is so hard to like. It's so tough that it's so hard to judge losses. Like,
Yeah.
I'm watching this Florida game right now. If they lose to Georgia, is this going to make me think any differently about Florida? I really don't think so. I think that's just the SEC. But in my eye test watching Texas A&M, I do not trust them. There's probably seven SEC teams that I trust more to go deep in this tournament
Yeah.
than Texas A&M, which probably means that they're going to make the Final Four. So,
Yeah, we can actually that's actually a good segue into the SEC thing. We can pick that up. The SEC this year has been the best conference by a large margin. Um, I don't even like the record of teams that have gotten into the tournament was in 2011. That was Big East, and they got 11 teams. What's the SEC is on pace to get 12 or 13 teams, maybe more.
13.
I
Georgia holds
mean,
on to this win. We're looking at possibly 14.
I mean, that's the crazy thing too because Arkansas. We talk about Arkansas here a little bit too.
Yep.
Arkansas didn't really like at the beginning of the season in SEC play, Arkansas was struggling, and in these non-conference games, like they were struggling big time, had no identity. Now you have player. It was after the Kentucky win. Players are finally starting to pick it up and play well, and you just get a big win against Missouri on the road, where finally John L. Davis is playing good, T.J. Wagner's playing good. Trayvon Brazil is probably the only person that's. I mean, Big Z's even playing good. The one worry for Arkansas is you do have. I don't know what his status is, but Adu Thero did get hurt
Yep.
towards the end of that game, it could be an issue. But they were able to hold a Missouri team who shoots very well to not shooting very well in the second half. But I think that
Mm-hmm.
just says it like top to bottom. Like the the two horrible teams in the SEC are LSU and South Carolina. But then Saturday, LSU almost beats Florida, and then South Carolina beats Texas, like kills Texas. So the SEC, this is one of the most
Yep.
stacked conferences I have seen in basketball in years. In years. And we're not even talking about, I mean, I, I I wonder if you share this opinion with me too. I always think about this with Tennessee. Tennessee gets all the hype that they're always going to get. They're going to get hype preseason, during the season. They're going to win a ton of games. They might even win the SEC tournament. But I think they're always going to get bounced in the Sweet 16. Like always, like I'm just not confident that a Rick Barnes led team can make. I mean, last year was their year with Dalton Connect. This year they basically have the same team without Dalton Connect. They still have Ziegler, but like
Yep.
I don't believe in them. Like I think those are the top teams that I don't believe in. And there are two teams, both from Mississippi, Mississippi State and Ole Miss, that play very scrappy as well and can play well. And Mississippi State, Mississippi State gets a good win last Tuesday or Wednesday against A&M at home, and then they go and lose to Oklahoma. So
Yeah.
it's like college football. It's just chaos at
Mm-hmm.
this point, which
Mm-hmm.
is makes it so much exciting. Yeah. I mean, just
I
also,
agree, man. The SEC, it's a historic year. I mean, it's one of the best conferences ever. You know,
yeah,
it's one of the best conferences ever. I agree with your take on Tennessee, though. They need a Dalton Connect level firepower guy on offense to have a chance to ever make a Final Four under Rick Barnes. I love
yeah,
Rick Barnes, but that's kind of how I feel about it
yeah,
too.
yeah. So you're an Auburn guy. This is your time
Yeah,
to give the pitch as why Auburn is, as we're talking about the SEC, why is Auburn just the best team in the entire league, and what makes them so different about everybody else? What do you think?
I really think that Auburn's just got dudes. I mean, we just got a bunch of old, tall dudes, and then arguably the best player in the country um, anchoring them. And I think the difference between this one and the ones of the past is that you have Janai Broom down there, who is one of the best Auburn centers ever. He's one of the best Auburn basketball players ever. He might be the national player of the year. The difference is you used to have like a Wendell Green and a KD Johnson who, when it was time to make the big shot, they weren't making the big shot. The
Yeah,
difference now is that you have Tahad Pettiford, you have Miles Kelly, Denver Jones has had some really great moments on offense. I think that's the difference, is that you just have fearless shooters surrounding the best player in the country. I think that's the difference between this Auburn team and Auburn teams in the past. We also play pretty dang good defense, so I think that's the difference in what makes us, the best team in the country, second best team in the country.
yeah. I every time an Auburn team is very good going into uh, March, I always am comparing it to the time that y'all made a run in 2019, which I mean, this team is, I think, way better than that team.
Yes.
And what made that team so well is how they could shoot threes, but you lost your inside presence.
Yep.
Um, with I'm forgetting his name, but he got hurt in the North
Chuma
Carolina.
Okiki.
Yeah, yes, he got hurt in the North Carolina game, and that ended up killing y'all in the Final Four because y'all went up again, which y'all still almost won the game. Should have
Yep.
won the game. Should have won the game.
All good.
But yeah, I think
Water under the
Auburn.
bridge.
I mean, I think it's that, and I think uh, I think just the size y'all have, Broom, like the best player on your team being your center, allows so much more for
Yeah.
all the other good players on your
Mm-hmm.
team to just be creative and just score and just take over games. Like Pettiford takes over games constantly. Some other guys I'm forgetting. Denver Jones plays his ass off too. Like that's your
Yep.
point about not having like a Wendell Carter and a Katie Johnson is you have guys who you're confident in the late game situations. Katie Johnson was erratic at times and would just turn the ball over and
He
just do
was he was
he would just do crazy shit.
yeah.
And like,
You go from the Katie Johnson NASCAR flailing cut
yeah,
to the rim where he throws it off the backboard. And
yeah,
I love Katie Johnson, but and then you go to Tahad Pettiford, who just is gonna go up on Cliff Amore and Grant Nelson and go between them and
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
That's the difference between now and the past.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree. I'm looking at a few of these other teams we can talk about too after because we'll progress into like I'm
We
going.
got to talk about Duke.
Yes, Duke, Duke. I was looking at some more of the ranked teams to talk about because we're going to talk more about ranked and then going. Duke is very good, but I have something I want to say about Duke. I want to hear your thoughts about this. Duke is very good. The ACC is a big, again, referencing part of my take in that interview again with John Fanta. The
Yeah,
ACC is bad. The ACC has Clemson and Louisville and Duke and I mean there's probably another team I'm forgetting. I think that might be it. SMU is competitive at
no,
times. I think I might
it's
have already said
terrible.
them. They're bad. They're bad. But Duke hasn't played anybody and they're not I'm looking at the rest of their schedule. They're playing Miami right now. They're winning by almost 30. They're winning 77 to 45. Next on Saturday, they have Florida State, who is horrible. Wake Forest, who has been a streaky team, I'd say. Wake Forest is, I think they're part of the last four in and last four out right now, according to the bracketology. And then you finish the season at North Carolina, who North Carolina has been a big disappointment this year. And which is to say that after
Yeah,
they just extended their coach today. Um, but they haven't played anybody, but that doesn't, I mean, they're still amazing. They have an amazing team. Cooper Flag
yeah,
is up for that argument against Johnny Broom as the best player in the country. I mean, Cooper Flag is going to be the number one pick. He does
yep.
everything. He's so good.
Should be.
And they have players all over the court too that do stuff too. So Duke's great, but that's just my only one thing is that they don't play anybody, and that's something that you could see in the tournament is that they go and they play one of these unranked teams or one of these teams that have been streaky.
Yep.
Let's say they go in and they play like let's say they go in and play a Drake or they go in and play a Akron or a New Mexico. All these teams with like 3, 4, 5 losses that are in smaller conferences that they could lose to these teams because they've been playing these teams who aren't as good. Which I mean, these teams could be just playing in bad conferences, but these teams are playing great games. I mean, I I I think Duke's great. I think they're awesome. They're well deserving number two pick. That's just my only thing on them that they haven't played anybody.
Yeah, I agree with your general point. The difference is I don't think there's any chance they lose to a lower seeded team. I think they at the earliest lose in Sweet 16. If they get a bad 4 seed matchup at the earliest, that's when they're losing.
Yeah,
But I do agree with your point. They don't play anybody. Um,
got him.
sorry, I had an interruption.
No, you're good. You're good.
Um, so yeah, that's the thing about Duke. Like they play nobody. The ACC sucks. Quick little tangent. SMU should not make a tournament. Don't
Wait.
have win
You
over a
break.
current.
You're breaking up. Repeat that. Repeat
All
that.
right,
You're
you
good
hear me?
now.
Am I
Yeah,
good?
yeah, yeah. You're good.
All right. Quick tangent on SMU. It's embarrassing if they make the tournament. They do not have. I don't fact check. Don't fact check me, but
I'm
I don't
gonna.
think they have a win over a single tournament team yet in their season. If you have not beaten a tournament team, it is a disgrace if you go to the tournament.
Checking.
All right. Anyways,
Yeah.
back to
Yeah. I
Duke.
mean, you're not. You're actually. You are not wrong. You are not wrong.
They have not beaten a single team on the right side of the bubble. It is a disgrace if they make the NCAA
Yeah.
tournament.
Yeah.
Back to Duke.
You're not wrong. No.
Duke's
Yeah.
really good. Yeah. And yeah.
I think. Yeah. I think. I mean, the ACC is just going to be. Yeah. It obviously it's just the ACC is just horrible. But you have those handful of teams that are very good. That really can't like. It's hard to judge it off of for the low level teams.
Yeah.
Like I think another team that's playing great in the ACC too is Louisville, and I mean
Yep.
Louisville is number 19, and they've had a great year. I mean they just moved up 6 spots on the in the rankings yesterday. So Louisville's a great team as well. I'd say Clemson is the second best team, but Louisville after that. Clemson's very good, and Clemson is being slept on too. Clemson is damn good. The one thing you do have to talk about Duke is their 2 losses or 3 losses have
Yep.
all come down to last second plays, and there's been an issue with the sweatiness of Cooper Flag. It's the sweat. Like it's funny to, but like it's for real. It's like he
Yeah.
slipped and everything. Like it's definitely something to talk about for sure. But
Yeah, I
no, I
actually, in a vacuum, I think that Duke is the best team in the country.
really,
I think they're better than Auburn in a vacuum. In a vacuum, you'll this will make more sense, but I kind of finished my point here. But when you take the fact that in a vacuum, they're the best team in the country. When you take
yeah,
the fact they have a bunch of young dudes who've only played in a few big games, I think in the moment, I trust a couple other teams like Auburn and Florida to step up in a Final Four matchup. You know,
yeah,
I think they're incredibly talented, but they just got some young guys that are going to go into the tournament only having played in four big games,
yeah,
five big games, and
yeah,
where I think their weakness is going to be.
yeah, yeah. I agree. And Florida is a team. I think Florida has a very good chance of winning it as well because Florida has size and they can shoot. Like the
Yep.
two guys, the
Yep.
two big guys they have. That one guy from I'm pretty sure he's from Australia. He's a beast. That guy, I'm looking up the roster. Oh, Alex Condon.
Uh,
Alex Condon
Alex
is
Condon. Yeah.
awesome. And then is it Denzel? I don't. Is it Denzel Birding? I might mess up his name,
Denzel
but
Aberdeen. Yeah.
yes, yes.
Denzel Aberdeen.
Is they're two big guys, and
Yep.
like back to the game against Auburn, those are the guys that caused trouble. It was the two big guys, and they were all over the place.
Caused
So
trouble. They dominated that
yeah,
game.
yeah. So I mean, that's one thing you can. I think that's a good thing, a good loss that Auburn had that showed them like, okay, we have Johnny Broom and
Yep.
like we have length, but like these guys dominated us,
Yep.
and okay, we have to step it up. And so it's a good wake up call for Auburn to have. But Florida is damn good. Florida is really good. I mean, I'm trying to look on their points. I mean, they average about 83 points a game, which is awesome to see. I mean, field goal percentage is 469. I mean, we're .469. I mean, yeah, they're just a good all around team, and that coach has been incredible too. So Florida's a great. I mean, those three teams, Auburn, Duke, and Florida. That's why I say those are the three best because of their size and how just they can score on offense so well. I mean,
Yep. I agree.
uh,
And if I think Florida is going to find a way to pull this game out, actually, but
really,
if they don't, that doesn't make me think any differently about Florida. To
yeah.
be 100% honest with you, they're
What's
down
that?
8 with 7 minutes left.
Yeah, okay. Um,
That doesn't make me think any differently. Florida, it happens.
yeah. Do you have any other ranked teams you want to talk about, like at the top? Do you have thoughts on? I mean, a lot of these.
I love Maryland. I love
Yes,
Maryland. They
okay.
call
I
them
wanted to
the
talk about
Crab
Maryland.
Five.
I wanted to talk
I
about
love
Maryland.
Maryland.
I those guys. I'm pretty sure they're one of there might be the only one team or one of a few. I think there might be the only one where they have multiple guys averaging like 12 points a game. So
They rock. They
they
are
are
awesome.
they're
The Crab
awesome.
Five, all time nickname too.
Yeah, that's a perfect nickname, and I hope they go far in the tournament because they now they have guards who can score too, and it's always been Maryland in the past couple years in the tournament. They've always had big guys, big centers who can play. Now they have guards who can play really good as well. So they're an awesome team. I think they're a team that can go and make a run in the Big Ten tournament, but it's not like they'll need it though. I'm trying to
Yep,
see
they
if
won't.
I was trying to look if Wisconsin plays them towards the end of the season. They do not. They're on their schedule, but I hope they meet up in the Big Ten championship or just a tournament. That would be awesome.
We mentioned
Um,
Louisville, but I like Louisville too. I really like Chucky Hepburn. He's
yes,
fun. If he gets going at the right time, they can beat anybody. Same with we're going to talk about sleeper teams later, aren't we?
yeah,
Cinderella.
yeah, yeah,
All right.
yeah. I think another team too. 'Cause we talked about Arkansas, and obviously they have John Calipari from Kentucky. Kentucky, with Mark Pope, they started off the season, and early on in the season, I thought Kentucky was a team who can win it all. I'm not thinking that anymore, but they do have injuries. Lamont, I know Lamont Butler's out, and
Yep.
he's I'd say one of their best players, maybe their best player. Amari Williams, their big
Yep.
guy, they don't play him enough. I don't like against Alabama. He wasn't in for like 7 minutes in the second half, and I was like, what are they doing here? This is a guy like you have size over Bama, like this guy can
Mm-hmm.
play. So Kentucky's very good, and if they can get healthy, they score a lot and they can score quickly. So Kentucky's another team to watch out for as well once they get healthy and once they get their roster back in place. But I'm looking at other teams too. Arizona's making a run as well. They did lose to BYU over that bullshit
You got a
on
chance if
Saturday
you got
night.
Caleb Love. If you got
Yes,
Caleb Love, you got a
yes,
chance. That's it.
yeah. So Arizona's, I think, will make a run too. BYU snuck their way in the top 25. I mean, the college basketball this year is as good as it's been in a while, and that's what I love. Like it's just
100%.
such good
It's been an
teams,
incredible season.
such
Yep.
good teams, and I love it. I love it. Okay, um, now we'll go into kind of some unranked teams. I had some notes on. Um, I had Vanderbilt. Now Vanderbilt for me is very interesting because they've beaten a couple of like good SEC teams,
Mm-hmm.
and not even like some they haven't beaten, but they've played really close and almost beaten them.
Yep.
So they're a good undefeated team that I mean, unranked team I'm looking at. I think they're great. There's a couple other here. I mean, you got the couple like uh, New Mexico is great. New Mexico, I looked at it in New Mexico earlier. I said they're 22-5 in the Mountain West. They're really good.
Hey, Richard
Um,
Pitino there. Yeah, it's Richard
yeah,
Pitino.
yeah,
He's
yeah.
a
I mean,
dog.
dude, New Mexico's always good too. So New Mexico could obviously
Yep.
be in it. They received 23 votes to be ranked. Ole Miss is another team I'm very like. I talked about them earlier. They're streaky and they can score as well. Gonzaga as well. Drake is good too. Drake is one of those teams that was a Cinderella last year, and they were a low level team last year.
Yep.
They played great in the tournament. They're 25-3. Um, there's a ton of unranked teams that are good. I mean, Creighton too. Creighton's not ranked in the top 25 this year, which is kind of crazy because of how good they've been in the past couple years. But they still have the same great players as they had the past couple of years. So
Yep.
there's great unranked teams out there. What are some other ones you were thinking of as well?
Drake's awesome. I love Drake. I
Yeah.
put BYU, but I think they're at 25 now.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I like
BYU's
BYU.
25. Yep.
That's not a 9-10 seed you want
Yeah.
to run into in the second round.
Nope. I agree.
Um, I like Utah State also. I don't really love Oregon.
Oregon's gonna get
Let me
in
look at my
though.
notes real
That
quick.
that that win against Michigan. I mean, that win against
Yeah,
Wisconsin
yeah,
is
they'll
gonna
get
help
in.
them. They're definitely gonna get in.
They have
They're
a win
definitely
against
gonna get in.
Alabama. Yeah, they're going to get in.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. A lot of these teams I had in my on my notes, and then I didn't realize they ranked them now. Like BYU was one of them. Um. Yeah. I'm surprised New Mexico is not ranked. I think New Mexico's good. I think New Mexico's better than BYU and Mississippi
Yeah,
State, in my opinion. Um. But no, there are a ton of like these sleeper teams. Like I'll read off my Cinderella teams, like because we like to look at Cinderella teams as the low level teams who can make a run and an upset in the first or second round, mainly the first. So I was looking at these and not the kind of Power Five, Power Four conferences. You got New Mexico's 22-5, Drake who's 25-3, Yale is back. They are 18-6. Akron is 21-6. They can score off a rip. Bradley is 22-7. They're very good. Utah
hmm
Utah
good
State only
pick.
has Utah State only has 4 losses. They're 24-4. Um, St. Mary's is not a Cinderella. St. Mary's is ranked and they're a good team.
They're
BYU,
not a Cinderella. You're right.
no,
You're right.
no, no. And I think you put this here. You said Will Wade in Indiana, and we already talked about Arkansas, but Will Wade in Indiana. Uh, Will
I
Wade's
did
at
say Will
McNeese.
Wade.
He's
Will
at
Wade,
McNeese
dude.
State, right?
McNeese. Yep, they're good, man. They can go beat somebody. They almost did it last year, didn't they?
Yeah.
They almost beat
Who?
somebody last year.
Oh my gosh, who did McNeese State play last year? I'm gonna struggle finding this, but
Yeah,
yeah, no, I remember. Oh, I think they played. I think they played. Yeah, they played Gonzaga. That's right. They played
that's
Gonzaga
right.
last year.
They played
They
them
played
well too.
Gonzaga, and they played really good too. Um, who was the team that played Kansas last year and got fucked over on a few calls?
That was Sanford.
Yes, that was
That
Samford.
was
That was
right here. That
Samford. Yes,
right down the
yes,
road.
right down the road in Birmingham. Indiana's strange. Because Mike Woodson's retiring at the end of the year,
They've
but
been playing well since
yes,
that
they've been playing
announcement.
well, and
That's the crazy thing.
they just beat Purdue on Sunday at home.
Yep.
Like they
You're
beat Purdue
yep.
convincingly.
on the road. You're telling me that at home, yeah, they beat him in Assembly Hall. You're telling
Yeah,
me that if retired, he was asked to step down 1,000%. If retired Mike Woodson starts taking these boys on a run, that America's not going to get behind them. And they have the talent. They're one of the more talented teams in the country.
yeah.
And I feel the exact same way about Arkansas. I think that John Calipari going to Arkansas, and I'm not saying people don't necessarily love Arkansas, but people hate Kentucky.
Yeah.
And I think the way he handled that weekend and that win when they won at Kentucky got a lot of people back on his side.
Yeah.
I think if Cal started getting the boys on a run, I really think America would be behind them,
I
which normally isn't a thing for Arkansas. I feel like Arkansas is normally under Muss was a little bit more of a villain role a lot of the
yeah.
time. I feel like America would get behind them, and they have the talent to do so. They have good players.
They do so yes, Arkansas's got the talent to do if they got the players. Arkansas's problem is inconsistency in shooting. So that was always the knock
Mm-hmm.
about Muss's teams. Muss's teams had
Yeah.
all this talent. You had these transfers coming in who were incredibly talented. You had top five recruits coming in that were really good, but you were inconsistent shooting the three, and you always like they never had a big man too. You never had a true big man.
Mm-hmm.
Like the last true big man Arkansas had, one that was a tall one who dominated. You would say it's Daniel Gafford. Like Jalen Williams was
Jalen
there.
Williams.
Jalen Williams was great, but he was more like he was if you're looking at him as a center, he's a smaller center.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, you're
Daniel
right.
Gafford is a true center and stuff like that. Like Arkansas has never had a true center, and then this year you go and you get I think we got Jonas Adu from Tennessee, who he started off the year injured, but he just hasn't been that type of player you're looking for. So we've had to resort to DJ Wagner, Thero, Carter Knox, and Billy Richmond have been two players who have picked up huge for Arkansas, have been playing great, and like you get buckets when you need a run, and those guys have been playing great. And I mean, I hated on Big Z early on in the season, and the Kentucky game he played great. I mean, the Auburn game he went 0 for 9 for 3, but it's like, man, you're hot. Just keep
It
shooting, and
happens.
one's gonna go in. Like he's playing good. I mean, if Arkansas can consistently shoot the three, um, I think they can definitely go on a run. I totally agree with you. What has sucked for Arkansas is I think this team wouldn't be a sweat to get into the tournament right now if Boogie Flan wasn't hurt. Boogie Flan, who's going to be a lottery pick in the draft,
Yep.
he's phenomenal. He's hurt, so that's hurt us big time. We've had guys step up, but that's when Carter Knox and Billy Richmond's been playing great. But I hope Arkansas does. I mean, we have a look. We have the win against Missouri helped us out big time, but the issue that's going to be going forward is look, your schedule, you got Texas at home tomorrow. Texas, we should take care of business. Texas is not as good as they have been. They just got smoked by South Carolina. We go to South Carolina Saturday, and then you go to Vanderbilt and at home against Mississippi State to end the season. Those are two tough games. So realistically, you want to win 3 out of 4 of those games to get you a spot in, and then win a game in the tournament. And I think Arkansas is in. But we've seen
Mm-hmm.
crazier things happen. I mean, we see St. John's got screwed last year out of getting in,
Yep.
and Seton
Yeah.
Hall. Those were terrible. So I hope Arkansas can. I really do. I mean, it'd be awesome. I'd love it. Especially, but I don't know how I think everyone just hates Cal so much. Still, I think just the world hates Cal. Like I would hope that people would root behind us, but I don't know because you have Cal. Like I've always said this. Once Arkansas got Cal, my friends, I had people being like, "Gosh, why are we?" Everyone's talking shit about it and things like that. And it's like, well, we've got Cal now. We're always going to be under a microscope. Any team who
Yeah.
has Cal, every loss you have is dissected and you are under the microscope and receiving all the scrutiny. So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I mean, it would be awesome. It would be awesome.
Yep.
Do you got any other like sleeper teams or anything you're looking at that could make a run the tournament? I think I just got all. I think we just went all of the one I had on the note here.
Yeah.
Because next I was gonna close this out with our. I have my last four in and first four out, and
Yeah,
then
I just love Maryland, man.
yeah,
I
me
just
too.
love Maryland.
I think Maryland's awesome. All right, I'll give my first four my last four in and first four out right now. Um, my last four in right now is Arkansas, SMU, Wake Forest, and Georgia. So that's my last four in. And my first four out is going to be North Carolina, which that might not even be close to being still in now. VCU, Kansas State, and I had one other team. Um, Let me see who it was here. This is bad podcasting. That's okay. I think it was it might have been San Diego State. That totally could be my first four
That would
out.
make sense.
Yeah, it was San Diego State. Yeah, it was San Diego State. So San Diego State, VCU, North Carolina, and Kansas State. That's my first four out and last four in. Um, but I did not realize that about SMU when you said that. I didn't realize SMU hasn't beaten anybody. So I think SMU will lose. But that's mine. Do you have a last four in first four out, or just kind of off the
Yeah,
top of your
yeah,
head?
I
Okay,
got this.
yeah,
Big, just
bet.
I don't think this is what's going to happen, but it's not what's going to happen. But this would be so dang fun. Give me a last four. Give me a last four in of Georgia, Arkansas, North Carolina, and Indiana.
Ooh,
North Carolina's rattled off some wins. If
yeah.
they can play Duke close, I think they have a chance. Which takes my first four out to SMU. That's gonna be so. I'm gonna be mad if they make it in. Xavier, Nebraska, and Wake Forest. Um, I don't like any of those
Yeah,
teams. To be honest
yeah.
with you.
Nebraska's been a weird team all year. They've kind of been on
Yep,
the bubble like all
I
year.
agree.
Same as Wake Forest. Yeah, yeah. Um, okay, and then we'll finish off with Final Four predictions and winners. And then I'll have you and I know Alan wants to come on, so I'll get you and our boy Alan Sneaky, Alan Williams on to talk about. I think I'll do that when the brackets come out. We'll just do a
All right,
full
yeah, yeah. Let's
bracket
do it.
recap.
Let's do a bracket
But
recap.
so
That'd be fun.
my Final Four right now, um, I have Auburn, Duke. I love Wisconsin and I'm in Michigan State. Auburn, Duke, Wisconsin, Michigan State. Those are mine.
Yeah, mine is. I have Auburn, Duke, Houston, Wisconsin was my picks.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about Wisconsin. Every
I
tournament I root for Wisconsin.
Me
I
too.
don't know
Me
why. I think
too.
it's because Frank Kaminsky.
Yeah,
I
it's
think after Frank
those old
Kaminsky, I've just been
teams.
a Wisconsin guy.
Yeah, those
Yeah.
old teams were so good. That's why I love those teams. So,
Yep.
and my title, I've got Auburn taking it. I believe you do you as well.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, so we
I have no
both got
choice.
Auburn,
I
but
have to. I'm legally
yeah,
required.
you have to, you have to. All right, I think we just covered it all. Hell yeah, I think that was a good episode.
Thank you. Crazy that we did this on the one weekend a year where we're going to be together in like
Yes,
48
yeah,
hours.
yeah. We're gonna be together in New Orleans.
Heavy Mardi Gras.
Hell of
Luke's
a
going to be
time. Yeah,
very sober.
very sober. Drinking responsibly,
Yeah,
both of us.
absolutely.
But
That's what
all
we
right,
do
well,
on
Pete,
this podcast.
appreciate you coming on, boss. I appreciate it, and for everybody listening, we'll do a episode when the brackets come out, recapping everything and preview, and yeah, enjoy the basketball right now while you
Yeah,
got it.
man. Thanks. Thanks for having
Yep.
me on.
See you,
War
boss.
Eagle. See you.